claim they like riding, but I know that they ain't. Ride or die. I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint. Ride or die.
So just a suggestion, even when some brothers come up and maybe they come to ask you about these topics, just tell them to keep it private, because we may understand, like for example, anyone who studied philosophy, even the basics of it, they can understand what you are saying, okay? But the layman, they may don't know, and that may causes them to have doubts and stuff like that. If it's
Muslim,
not in a, yeah,
just on a
that's just a
practical
suggestion.
level, just on a practical level, that's impossible. Because one, philosophy is in an all-time high. It's accessible to everyone. Anyone can access any philosophical paper
No, no.
whatsoever.
Okay.
These brothers do da'wah. By virtue of them trying to do da'wah, that will invite people who ask questions, just by virtue of doing it. That
Bırakın,
advice
bırakın
that you're
Hasan'ım.
trying to give,
Şavaka.
it
Vamos
can it
Hakan.
can't be yeah, it can't be
Bro,
achieved. We
bro,
cannot protect laymen.
look. You are Kurdish and I'm Kurdish. Okay, so we understand each other, right?
So
Yeah.
Muslim, let me tell
Okay,
you what I
that let me
think.
tell.
Just real fast and let you go back with him. So what I hear that as an outsider, I hear the same thing when Christians say it too. So I'm not jabbing you up front, but so when somebody says, "Hey, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
James, they've been
we
doing it
shouldn't talk
recently
about
with the
these
whole
things,"
John Lee thing. I
yeah,
mean,
we
they've been
shouldn't
doing it
be,
with all that.
yeah, we shouldn't be making this public. We shouldn't be discussing it. We're afraid of the information. It could
No,
cause
it's not
somebody
about
to
that. It's not
doubt.
about that.
No, 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 I'm just telling
Just
you how
because
that. Hold on, wait. Let me
us.
finish, please.
Oh, go ahead,
Let
go
me
ahead.
finish, please. That's the way it gets taken. Is that hey, you're nervous. If somebody finds out this information is available or that this is in question, they may doubt. And so I'm saying that's not necessarily what you want to be conveying. And the same way when I talk to the Christians, I don't think that's what we want to be conveying either. We want to be open and discussing the issues.
Now, conveying and discussing are two different things. My point is, we are not afraid to tell our brothers who are not educated about these things. We can give a lecture on it, no problem. But when two guys discuss it and they use the same language and the other guys they don't understand it, that's the point. My point is not that
Well,
okay, we shouldn't tell our brothers, Christian or non-Christian, whatever faith you are. Like you said, you have the same kind of issues in your community, let's say. I'm not saying that you should convey these things, okay? But the fact is, not everyone is well equipped to understand it. So you have to give a lecture on it. So you're gonna have to make a series of lessons maybe instead of just discussing it because they wouldn't understand.
So I'm not. Look, it does happen in Christianity, but I think, at least from my perspective on Muslims on social media, that it happens a lot more where somebody is trying to give you the educated position, explain to you what's going on, and then when you come in and you come in hard and heavy about like killing the conversation, it appears that it's like you're worried about this information getting out. That might not be what you're trying to convey, but from an outsider's perspective, it seems like you're hiding something. In the same way the atheists have been asking the Christians, why won't you talk about John Lee's theology? Why won't you let this be public? To them, it looks like we are hiding something. So these are just things that I'm just cautioning you on, that it's healthy to
Yeah,
have
I
these
know. For us, it's
conversations.
public, brother James. For us, it's public knowledge. We give certifications on these matters actually. So for us, it's
Muslim,
not something. There's no knowledge in Islam that it's hidden or that some scholar somewhere is hiding it. It's not like that. It
If
just
I had a
my
dollar for
point.
every time, just if I had a dollar for every time I've been in these conversations, I've had this with a Muslim, and then they've backed out or they've chose not to do it anymore because I'm a non-believer. I won't understand or I don't have the proper information, I'd have a new car in my driveway, and I'm not even kidding.
Muslim, to give you an example, imagine I created the fork with the intent for someone to just use it, or like a spoon for someone to eat it with. The fact that someone may use that spoon to, I don't know, pop someone eyeballs out of it, like, it's such a weird thing to be asking of us to do, when by virtue of what we do, that's just a constant threat. We can't get rid of it.
Okay, but the
If
Prophet
anything,
Muhammad didn't do it like that. You're gonna have to start from the basic with the audience, isn't it?
Habibi, maybe during the days of the Prophet, half of the equation was already answered. The people of his time already believed in a higher being. It was just a matter of refuting polytheism. They already believed in a God. This is what people
We are
don't
not
get
speaking
when they
about
bring
that.
up that the
No,
Prophet
no.
Muhammad did
I
this
know
or did
about
he
that,
do that.
Akhi. Akhi, they were mushrikun. I know
Meaning,
about that. They believed in Allah, but they worshipped other idols beside Allah. I know about that.
But look, this
My
goes
point
even
is,
beyond that, my man. Like, look, Hebrew, like, I know from our own context, Hebrews 6 is fully engaged in the talk of things that God cannot do, right? That's things that God cannot do includes also things that God cannot know, right? This is at least 600 years before your guys' context that you're referring to right now, and this you can find it in other literature as well. It's very common. So, for example, let me give you an example. One of the reasons you guys aren't Christians is because of the Trinity. Another possible reason that you're not a Christian is because we have the doctrines of grace say something like election. Even within our own Christian camp, these are controversial issues. And they even cause some to look down on the doctrines of grace as ruining or bringing disrepute to God's name. Right? Should we then not revel in the beauty of the Trinity and the beauty of the doctrines of grace? Of course not. In fact, we proclaim them all the louder. If someone does not understand them, that is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to these doctrines and to proclaim them loudly from
but
the
isn't
rooftop
it
because they
okay? But
are
you are coming from a different perspective. We have our own
sure.
tradition, and our tradition is
Yeah, but we're
to
also asking
convey the
about the objective
message.
truth.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, look, even for you, isn't it your responsibility to convey the message in the best manner? Of course. So according to the audience you are talking to, okay, you're gonna have to adjust it. I'm not saying we shouldn't discuss it and that's it. You can discuss it, but I'm saying these subjects, if we care about our own brothers and sisters, whether Christian or non-Christian, okay, we have to convey it in the best manner. And we have to start from the basics and then we go on and we go on and we go on. That's all my point is. And I'm not there's no other point that I'm making. I'm saying if we care about conveying the message, whether it is Christianity or Islam, we're gonna have to start doing it responsibly and doing it starting from the basics, yeah, and then going to the
I
medium and then advance, yeah.
I would actually
but Muslim,
argue that
yeah,
we
go
need
ahead,
to go.
James.
I'll go quick and then let you go again. That we need to go straight after the meat and potatoes. And if somebody says, "What is the doctrine of the Trinity?" One being in three persons. I tell them that if they want to know what being in person means, I should be willing to interact with that or how I arrive at that. And the same thing, this conversation about Allah, and I get it, like he's God. I mean, nobody wants to be in a position where they're mocking God or they're questioning God. But I believe that God, the God I worship, um, wants people to actually dig in, wants people to know who He is. That's why He sent us books. That's why He sent us revelation. That's why He communicated to us. So I think that the best thing forward for all faiths is open, honest, public dialogue and not just baby steps.
Another way to kind of look at it is that you need to remember the context of what someone like Jake does, what someone like James does. We're not having layman discussions. We're not having, I'm not that
I
far
agree, I
educated
agree.
in the matter. And it's not, if Jake wanted to give a basic lecture on Aqidah, he could do that, right? If he wanted to. But someone going into these philosophical discussions, It's not gonna work. You can't be midway in philosophy. You go all the way. You can't go halfway. There's no halfway. Once you get into it, you're never gonna stop. And James, Daniel, Godless, and Jesse, and Muslim can all attest to the same thing. Even Yusuf once said it. It's an endless labyrinth. So if someone doesn't have the courage to go down this route, he shouldn't have been in there in the first place.
Yeah, you can only
If you don't
go,
want to talk about this, the whole thing, that's fine. That's respectful. But that causes you
bro,
issues. And go ahead.
No, I agree with
bro.
you.
What I want you, yeah. So the thing is, you can only go really deep in philosophy if you really have the foundations for your belief right in place. You really have the knowledge about your foundations and your belief. Then you can go into philosophy. Otherwise, you get lost and you get misguided easily because philosophy will take you to on a spin that is
That's
very
not
dangerous.
true.
It's only for people who have knowledge of the deen, have knowledge of if you are truly knowledgeable in Islam, then yes, philosophy is a good tool to invite people to Islam. But if you don't have knowledge about Islam, you shouldn't go to
Benny,
philosophy, bro. It
Benny,
will
I
take you, it
Benny,
will
disagree with
that's
misguide
you.
you. It
I
will
disagree
misguide
the
you.
way you said it. I agree with you, but the way you said it, I disagree. Me personally, I didn't study Aqidah before going to philosophy. I went to philosophy, then I got my knowledge in Aqidah, okay? And I'm a Asari, alhamdulillah.
and
So,
same thing happened
uh,
here. I got into
yeah, so,
philosophy at like
yeah.
for like
It's,
8 years,
yeah,
and
so it
here I
could
am.
happen. There's a high probability. I agree with Benny if he says that there's a high probability for a layman to not have knowledge in his Aqidah and go into philosophy. Yes, he could go astray. There's a higher
Well,
probability.
the thing is, you don't want to. So you don't want to have. You don't want to put like your religion ahead of critical thinking, meaning that I believe that critical thinking can also get you to Jesus and convey you Jesus Christ as God. But if I set all that critical thinking aside and I say, okay, I'm just going to affirm, take everything here, I'm not going to question anything, and I'm going to tell you to do the same thing about your religion, what is going to distinguish us from cults? What's going to
But
distinguish us from other groups? One
you are
second,
assuming.
let me finish real quick, and you can go. But what's going to distinguish us from these groups who have told you, okay, well, you have to obey this structure, stay within the lines, you can't color outside them, you can't look outside them. Once you do that, I think you're in dangerous territory.
That also paints like for the outside, they're going to paint like suppose like remember when oh 1 minute.
Okay, Brother James, you are assuming that when we study our religion and our doctrines, that there's no critical thinking. Actually, it's the
No,
other
I
way
didn't say
around.
that. No, I didn't
No, I
say that
said
there
there was
was.
an assumption in your statement. That's how I saw
No,
it, you know.
no, I said there's a perception. So, for example, if you're telling somebody learn the deen first, then go into philosophy, which is another word in my opinion for critical thinking, then you're like, say, hey, know all this stuff before you think about it. I see these things as like hand in hand tools that,
No,
um,
but you are equating philosophy with critical thinking.
yes, because I believe
He did
philosophy
say
is,
it's the
is
same thing.
tied to critical thinking.
Okay, but that's not the definition of philosophy.
Uh, There's a
You could
difference.
go in your way and just read and get a Descartes book. Let's say you jump right into the symbolic logic. Let's say that. And which one is more important, having your faith and be saved, or just getting an extra
Okay, to break
knowledge?
it down,
How
right?
would I
Now,
know the faith to be true in the first place if I don't know how to think?
Wait, to
I just
break
be
it
on
down.
you
blind
don't need
faith.
philosophy to know how to think, akhi.
No, but that is
Muslim
the
man. To
definition of
break it
Benny,
down,
philosophy.
hang on, let him
Articulation
finish.
of thinking.
I disagree.
That's you can
Fateh,
disagree with it. That's fine. I'm not going to debate you on the definition of philosophy. The difference of definitions has been there since Aristotle's day. It's
Fateh. So,
literally just critical thinking on higher levels.
okay,
When you
Fateh.
say
So,
contingent, what does that even mean? That's just a fancy word for saying that something that could not have come to exist.
Okay,
That's all that philosophy does.
Fatih, you speak Kurdish, right?
I'm learning my languages. My family,
Okay.
my family didn't,
So if I
didn't.
if I speak Kurdish, you would understand me.
Habibi, I understand you. Wallahi, I did. I grew up with Ash'aris. I know this line of thinking. I'm telling you, this is more detrimental than beneficial. I got more detriment from this line of thinking than benefit. The Ash'aris kept telling me just have faith, read aqidah, do dhikr. None of that
Ash'aris,
helped me.
Ash'aris, أخي, Barakallahu fik. The Ash'aris in Erbil, in the city you claim to be, I don't know, the one you wrote. The Ash'aris in Erbil, one of the first books when they are teenagers, they study Ilm al-Kalam. I've been to their mosques and I know about this.
End of the day, right?
That's yeah, the Salafis are I'm a Salafi, okay, but I don't agree with the statement that okay, philosophy is kufr and you shouldn't go near it. I disagree with that, and I'm a Salafi, okay.
Muslim man. End of the day,
It's
the
just about
Prophet.
You
guiding
guys are
the
going way
individual.
off track from the
Yeah, yeah.
initial point. Like this is way off track.
What was the point?
Honestly,
What was
I
the
don't even know
initial
what we're
point?
talking about
What was the
anymore.
initial point again?
No, the initial point was your question. We already
Ah,
dealt with it. We already dealt with it, and we can move on. Simple as that. I
okay,
don't know
okay.
what else you want.
Okay, so Muslim metaphysicism. There are many lame Muslims, many lame Muslims, right? They are not really grounded in words and semantics and the way you use words and everything. So my advice is just my advice, but who am I, right? I'm Benny from the block, right? I'm Benny from the block. Who am I? But my advice is just make a clarification video what you really meant by saying
Ya
that.
Rabbi Rahman.
Yeah,
Listen,
I said
I'm
it's
I'm
just
I'm not
advice,
making a
bro.
clarification video about this. If I needed to make a clarification video every single time I said something, and a Muslim happened to DM me and say, Jake, what you said, I didn't understand, and it was confusing, or blah, 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 I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd have to make a video for a clarification video for every video I do, and then a clarification video for the clarification video. I don't care, dude. Like,
Okay,
you didn't
I can
understand it.
understand.
I explained it to you. There's not a single other Muslim that messaged me and said, oh, Brother Jake, I was confused about what you said. Now, if I had 100 people messaging with me this with the same point, then maybe I would invest some time into making a short video about it. But not just because Benny from the block didn't understand it.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry, dude. I mean, I
imagine.
responded to your point here. You
Yeah.
can take it or leave it, and
Okay,
it's as
cool.
simple as that. I mean, if
Imagine.
now if I have
Yeah.
100 people message me the same thing, then maybe I'll consider it. But until then,
Because they
that's it.
see it, bro. Okay. Imagine many.
How do you
Okay.
know they see
Okay.
it? Have you spoken to
They.
other people? Have
Yeah,
you
yeah.
spoken to other people
Yeah,
saying
they
the
saw
same
it, bro.
thing?
No, Benny, I think
Okay.
it's your. I think. Let's be fair, Benny. Jake
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
have to do a clarification video. أخي بارك
No,
الله فيك.
imagine Muslim man. Just imagine this: a lame Muslim, right? A lame Muslim who
Bro,
looks at the clip,
bro, where
and
is your
he
evidence
Yeah,
hears.
here?
Benny,
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 this is not
where is
going
your
Wait,
anywhere.
evidence
Benny,
for this, dude?
Benny,
Where's your
Benny.
evidence?
can I
Well,
finish?
it's going
You
to create
bring
is
me,
more.
you go out, hold on, you go out and you bring me dozens of other Muslims, okay, who watch the video and are saying the same thing, and then you can have a point. But until then,
Okay,
you are
cool.
just speculating, dude. You're just
Muslim man,
speculating. I mean,
Muslim man.
Benny,
Yeah,
most laymen, أخي, most laymen don't watch
I was not finishing
philosophical
my point,
arguments.
bro.
They
Muslim
get
man,
bored, أخي.
bro. Let me
Benny,
finish my
everyone
point.
understands. Everyone understands your point. You were heard.
No, no, it doesn't. No. So my point is, imagine a lame Muslim looks at a clip. Maybe they will clip it from you, and looks at a clip, and you say, imagine this, right? And you say, I know something that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, who's all knowing, doesn't know. Those words are exactly what you said. I know something that Allah
Who said
subhanahu wa
that?
ta'ala doesn't know. He said that, bro, in the clip. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, what is
A
the
Muslim will take
context?
it
Benny,
the wrong way.
What is the
He needs to,
context,
yeah, but
Akhi?
he needs to
Benny,
clarify,
we're
bro.
not
He
going
needs to
down that route. We're not going
clarify.
down
No,
that route.
no,
We're not going
Jake.
down that route.
That's why I'm
I
trying
know
to
Jake.
say,
Benny,
bro,
Benny.
it
I
will
know.
come back to haunt you, bro. It will
Look.
come back.
Jake wouldn't say something like
He
that out of
said that,
context.
bro.
Okay, as the moderator, what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna end this particular portion. Um, Benny, he's spent a long time explaining to you his answer. If you're concerned that people might be taking it out of context, the replays for this saves. You can record Jake's answer to you and send it to anybody who you think might be confused. And then,
Yeah, because Jake is saying that you think that that's what Jake's saying, that he thinks that he knows something more than God. Like, give me a break, dude.
Bro,
There's
it will
nowhere
take
to
the wrong
go.
Dude,
way.
Benny,
It will take the
we're
wrong
on a,
way,
we're on
bro.
a
That's what I'm
different
No,
trying
but
to
there's
Benny,
we're on a
say.
nowhere to
different
go
topic,
with it.
Benny.
No one heard what he
Benny
said.
and Daniel, we're on a different topic, please.
we're
Yeah, and
just
let's.
going to, because now
Yeah,
we've
yeah, yeah.
diverged from the topic about the usage of
I
philosophy.
agree.
Let me just tell you something, Benny. If I'm going to be concerned for every time I create a spoon that someone might use it and kill someone's eyeball, like eyes with it, should I not make spoons anymore just because someone could use it to kill? That's literally what you're telling me. I know it's a weird example, but Jake can't do that. Jake is someone equipped with the tools to debate high-level
You
philosophers
cannot,
like
as a,
Grandma.
bro. You cannot go out of your safe zone. You cannot,
It's not a
never,
safe
never.
zone. You
It's
haven't
a,
justified that it's a safe zone.
Benny,
You're
bro.
doing out
You
of your
Benny,
jahl,
cannot,
bro.
he's not.
you cannot make a sentence. Wait, you cannot as a Muslim. I'm not saying.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
That
talking
is
what?
about,
jahil. You are a jahil,
bro,
bro.
So Benny, is
This
there
is
another
bro.
jahil that's
Just
coming
topic?
out of your
wait.
mouth.
So
Can I
Benny,
say something?
Is there another topic that you would like to ask or
Let me
discuss?
finish.
Because
Okay. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, no.
Let me.
Listen,
Let me.
Benny, listen, Benny. Barakallah feek.
I'm
Khalas,
just
okay, that's it.
advising you for the lame
That's
Muslims,
it.
bro. They will
Yeah,
take it the
we
wrong
heard you. We
way.
heard you. We heard you 3 times,
Make
more
a
than three
clarification.
times.
We'll come back to hunt you, bro.
Barakallah feek.
Make a
Barakallah feek.
clarification, bro.
Barakallah
Benny.
feek.
Let's stop it, Akhi. Look, he's not responsible for how people take his words, Akhi. That's not how
Yes, I
that's not
am.
even
I
how
am.
Sharia
I am
works.
responsible, but not for one person to complain about it. Then I explain it to him, and he keeps going on. You like it or you don't. Take it or leave it. Simple. Barakallah feek. Khalas. That's it.
And ya akhi, we simply told you to go to study. And he would mention you Ibn Taymiyyah's quotation. There's no more than Ibn Taymiyyah. What do you need even any more than
Where
Ibn
did
Taymiyyah's
Ibn
quotation?
Taymiyyah said that you know something that Allah doesn't
Jay,
know?
he'll send
Dude,
you
Where
just
does
the
drop it.
he'll
Ibn
send you
Taymiyyah
Vathek,
say
the
don't
that?
even speak on it. Just
Come
Benny,
on,
drop
Benny,
it.
bro. Ibn
please,
Taymiyyah would
Benny,
not
Benny,
dare to say that.
but Benny, I don't like to remove people from the stage at all. Can we please drop this topic and you're welcome to participate in the next topic?
You're talking about philosophy, right? So the prophets were not philosophers, right? They came straight with the super clearest
Jeez.
Benny,
clarification.
Benny, can
The
we?
prophets, yeah. Yes, it's a different topic, right?
Okay, so
It's a
this
different
is a
topic.
different topic.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
wanna
yeah. It's
make an
philosophy.
argument that the prophets were not philosophers.
No,
Okay.
not like
Benny, don't do it,
not
Akhi.
like we know, bro.
Great,
Wait,
we're going
that's what I'm
down
trying
this
to
Akhi,
say.
anti-philosophy
you're
route.
just
You should have just said that from the
No,
bashing.
it's
start.
not
I know where you
anti-philosophy,
are
bro.
going with it. You are just bashing your Muslim brother instead of praising him and supporting him.
No. It's not about, bro. This is a different topic. What am I trying to, bro?
No,
What are you talking about? I'm not here to. I'm just
Let, let,
here
let, let's
to.
give him just a chance to see
Yeah,
how
yeah.
he tries to cash this out, and then we can go from there.
Okay, so cool. So what I'm trying to say is that the prophets were not philosophers like we know today, right? They came straight to the point. They came straight with the super clear clarifications and clear message that is straight to the point, not wiggling around and going around in circles. They it's straight to the point, right? It's the truth. It's the super clear truth, super logical, super. You don't have to. This is the way of the prophets. This is how they invited thing. They never use the philosophy like we know today, going around in circles all day, and then you end up like, oh, do I really exist? Oh, is it really snowing outside, or is it really raining? This is the philosophy that the toxic philosophy that we end up today. That, oh, maybe I'm a elephant. I'm not a human being. This is the philosophy that we have 21st century, and it's very toxic and dangerous. Thank you.
Okay, so can I reply to that, James? Just so I can cut this conversation short because it's had like 1,000 times already.
Yeah, go ahead.
First off, the reason the prophets didn't have to philosophize is because they didn't go to philosophers. First off, as I said, half of the people they were sent to already believed in God. That's one. Two, the prophets had miracles to back them up. That is the evidence that they had that we don't have. Okay, so that's the difference. Differentiate between the periods of time and the types of proofs that they had. When people asked the prophet, show us proofs of your claim, what did God give them? He gave them miracles. Something that was greater than what those people were expertise at. What did Moses get when he was challenged by the sorcerers of Egypt? He was given a literal serpent. His own staff turned to a serpent. They couldn't do that. That was a miracle. That was enough to get them to believe. Okay, that was one. What did Jesus get when he was faced with the physicians of Israel, the people of Israel? He raised the dead. That's something no physician could do. What did Prophet Muhammad get? He got many miracles, but the one that outdid the kuffar, the jahiliyyah, was the Quran. We don't have those proofs. That's why he didn't need to philosophize. Those were his proof. Those were his hijjah. Miracles are literally just hijjahs upon the kuffar. They are the proofs upon the people of ignorance. We don't have those anymore. Don't equate the periods or us to the prophets. We don't have what they have. You're
No,
not going to
I
tell an
think.
atheist.
Oh yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead. If anybody else wants to reply to
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
go
So
ahead.
I
I
think you're
will.
simplifying
I
this
will say this
situation.
though,
Yeah, sorry.
just as one quick response, Benny, is that if you ever had a clip where Muhammad made an illogical statement or a quote of something illogical, I would find that a basis to potentially reject all of Islam just on that one quote, because the final prophet, he's speaking for God and he makes a direct logical contradiction. So I think that within the argument you're making, you don't want to ever hold that any of the prophets that you hold as prophets made logical contradictions. You want to hold that they spoke logically, rationally, and authoritatively from God.
Yeah, so I think Fateh, with all due respect, bro, you're simplifying. Because when they argued with the people, right, it's not really argument. They gave just clear, simple, straightforward answers. Like, who do
How
you
many
worship?
miracles did
Do they
Prophet Muhammad
wait,
have?
bro? Of
How
course,
many
bro.
miracles did he have?
Of course, bro. Of course, there is
Benny,
an
Benny,
extra.
there's a qaida,
I'm talking
akhi,
about.
akhi. Let me remind
Wait,
you
let
of
me
a
finish,
qaida
bro.
from Shara, akhi.
When
Aql
let me
salim
finish.
goes
Just
in
relax.
line with naql
I
sahih,
was not
akhi.
finished, bro. I was not finished. Can I finish? Okay, thank you. So, bro, why people call me when I'm speaking? Okay, so, bro, what I'm trying to say is, you really, of course, he had miracles. Of course, everybody knows that. Prophets came with miracles and they prophesied and everything. So, yeah, of course. But how they talked with people, really, philosophy is really about arguing with people, talking with people, right? Reasoning with people. How they, it was very simple, bro. For example, why do you worship things that your own hands self-made, or they don't speak to you?
It
Why do
wasn't.
you know what I mean? It's the simple things
What?
like that. You don't have to go
Habibi,
all
what you
in
see
deep
as simple
philosophy
now was
to
not simple back then.
Can I respond,
What you
akhi?
bro.
view as simple
It's
now,
Let
go ahead,
me
brother
just
Muslim.
give an example from the Quran, okay? Now, before that, Brother Benny, akhi, there's a qaida, and okay, it says, aql salim goes in line with naql sahih. I'm sure you will understand me, okay? So that's that. If you are going to use aql salim or whatever you're going to call it, if you're going to call it sound reasoning or whatever, that's a qaida for us. That's a principle for us. Now, let me bring an example from Quran. When Allah asks, when Allah says, Jesus and her mother Mary, they were eating food. Okay. Now, for layman, what does this statement mean? But if you go deep and think about this statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what it means is that actually whatever is be God. Okay, that will go back to Ibn Sina's argument of dependency. That's Allah saying we're eating something. But you think about it, okay, what foods
You're
humans do.
breaking up a little
You're
bit.
breaking up, bro. You're
Oh,
in
sorry,
Matrix,
sorry,
bro.
sorry. Let me. Just give me a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to
I always
clarify,
find,
is yeah. So to
yeah, I find
clarify,
this one more interesting because he's talking about the dependency and the accusation of food. Because I've always
No,
found that that's not a great objection, but I always enjoy entertaining it.
Brother James, I'm not bringing it as an argument for you. I'm just clarifying for my brother that a statement like that, when apparently it's a simple statement, but the meaning is okay. Humans rely on food, so humans are dependent on food. Okay, so Allah is saying that Jesus and Mary were eating food. فَيَأْكُلُونَ الطَّعَامَ. Okay. What does this mean is actually that they are dependent beings. They are not independent. And and a definition the definition of Allah is independent. You get what I'm saying, Brother Billy?
yeah, of course. But just to clarify, of course, the most of the people in the world are laymen, right? You don't really need philosophy. It's straight to the point, simple. Keep it simple. But yes, I agree. Sometimes you need deep
Um,
philosophy for some people who are on their level, right? You need to know
Benny,
who you're talking to. So I can agree.
it's
But
bad
what I'm trying to
faith
say is
to
but
use a
the
bad
message
argument
of
to convince a layman.
bro, can I finish, bro? Can I finish? But the message, overall message of the Quran is very straightforward, simple, very simple. You know what I mean? It's not really deep philosophy. You know what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah, but
this is the
that's
prophetic
different,
way.
Akhi.
This is the prophetic way, bro. Keep it simple,
I know,
straightforward.
Akhi. If I'm going out on the streets and talking to laymen, of course I'm gonna talk simply to them. Okay, because they wouldn't understand me. It depends on the audience, and
Exactly.
when someone is debating, like Brother Jake is debating, or like Muhammad Hijab, or whoever else, okay, their opponent understands these things, and they will come up with these issues, with these problems, with these questions, and you're gonna have to have sound answers, as long as your answer is supported, or the foundation of your answer can be found in Quran and Sunnah, then there's no problem. But for example, if someone were to make an argument that's not in the Quran, that automatically that would, from our perspective, it will be a self-refuting argument, because Allah
What is
gave
the
the best
argument
argument.
for the exist Muslim? What's the argument for the existence of time and change in the Quran, or that it actually exists as a real thing,
What
or that you're a constant being?
mm, I'm
What is the argument for the reality of time in the Quran?
I'm sure it can be
There
found
is
in the
none.
Quran. No, I'm sure it can be.
Yeah, you're sure, but so far I haven't. Because this
So,
debate has nothing to do with
Okay.
Islam. You
so
can be
I'll
a
give you.
B-theorist or an A-theorist. It
So you
has
are
nothing to
saying that
do
you're gonna
with
make an
Islam, as
argument.
far as I know.
So you're gonna make an argument that the
Do you know
foundation
what
or
A
the
theory
meaning
and
is.
B theory is? Do you know what
Okay,
B theory and A theory even is?
akhi.
خلاص يا أخوي. With all due respect, let's end this conversation. We're not going to see eye
Okay,
to eye, and it's a waste of
okay.
time. If
So
anybody
you are
else
gonna
wants to
say
start a
you are.
discussion,
No, that's your conclusion. If that's how you're gonna deal with me, I can ask you questions also. Okay, but you are not here to test me, akhi. And I'm not here to. I'm actually supporting your cases that you can have philosophical arguments. Okay.
But
Now, if you're
see, what
gonna
he's
attack,
saying is that
if
if somebody says that,
no, you are
just
asking me questions and without letting me respond and think, oh, you are just a layman. You don't know these things, therefore
well,
you shouldn't speak on
I
this
was just
matter.
going to entertain with what you're saying. So, if you can say that the Quran is sufficient for the message that it gives, but if you make the claim that the Quran is sufficient to explain all things, but then you find things that are not explained in the Quran,
No,
then you
what
have
Allah?
to
Okay,
conclude that it's irrational to make
nope.
that statement or that
No,
argument,
because
because
Allah says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge in those things that you don't know. So actually,
it's
the
a quick
answer is in
question:
the Quran.
Are there words of God that are recorded in the Hadith and the Sunnah?
Yeah. So the thing is,
No,
for
no,
guy.
real
What
quick,
do you
Benny.
mean? Literal
I'm asking, Benny, I'm asking Muslim.
hadith is revelation. Hadith is revelation by God.
So Hadith is revelation by God, right?
Yeah, but not
You
not
need,
the literal word of God.
but you need the Hadith and Sunnah together, right?
Yep.
So that means that the Quran cannot be sufficient by itself. The Hadith cannot be sufficient by itself. Both together are
Both
sufficient
together
in
are
totality.
revelation.
But you cannot say that the Quran is sufficient by itself.
Sufficient for
That's
the
not
truth,
a.
to recognize
No,
the
I never
truth.
made that claim.
It's
I
sufficient for
never made that
guidance.
claim.
Wait, Muslim man, wait,
No,
wait.
no, no, Akhi, I never made that claim. Our faith is based on Quran and Sunnah.
But Akhi,
I never made the claim that
the
Quran is
Quran is
sufficient
sufficient.
alone without Hadith.
The Quran is sufficient
Hey,
for
Benny,
guidance
Benny,
and
Benny,
truth.
Benny, Benny,
The
look, you
truth.
have to let me in
To
Muslim. Look,
recognize the truth is
Benny,
sufficient.
Benny, pause. I let you engage with Jake for quite a bit of time. Muslims trying to respond to me. We're trying to go back and forth a bit. We can't like have a third, fourth person interrupt. Go ahead, Muslim.
Okay, look, brother James, I never made the claim that Quran is sufficient. Actually, that would be a statement of kufr because Allah.
Sufficient for what? Sufficient for what? You need to clarify, bro.
Benny, Benny.
No, no,
Okay,
for
Benny,
for
I'm
for,
sorry. You're
for
gonna have to go
guidance.
to the audience.
Let's say for guidance.
Benny, you can come back up in a little bit. I got to give him time to clarify, and we can't have people jumping in. It's not going to be fair. Go ahead once again.
Okay, James, I'm just gonna say this. If you took my statement as like me saying that Quran is sufficient without Hadith, I never made that claim. Okay. Now, to clarify my position, our religion is based on the Quran and Sunnah, which both are divine revelations from Allah. That's my response.
Okay, so when our friend above, who's right by me in the PTR order, asked you if you could explain everything from the Quran, what you actually meant is you cannot explain everything from the Quran. You need at least the Hadith, and would you also concede now you need rationale with that?
What do you mean when you say rational with that?
Meaning your reasoning, your thinking skills.
Well, Allah says in the Quran, Allah actually advises us to think.
And I'll give you an example. The Hadith, majority of that is fictitious. How we know that is because of the science of Hadith and people going through it with reasoning and justifications and considering a person's age, mental faculties,
We
the
also,
situation they were in, how many transmissions you have of documents. All of that was put together based on the reasoning of people after Prophet
no,
Muhammad
no, no, no.
passed.
Nah, bro,
That's
James, not only that, we have science of Hadith. That's
well, that's what I just said. The
correct,
science.
okay, but we also have proofs from the Quran. Now, when Allah says, بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالزُّبُرِ وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا أَنزَلَ إِلَيْهِمْ
I,
وَلَعَلَّهُم
I
يَتَفَكَّرُونَ.
speak English,
I'm
so
gonna,
I would appreciate if
okay, I'm
you
gonna translate. Oh, I will
said
translate.
it
Of
in the
course, I'm gonna
English
translate.
version. But I mean,
Okay,
but if you just keep that in mind and just try to speak it in the way that I can interact with me at first time, and then if you need, like later on, you want to say it in the Arabic, you can.
bro, I was gonna translate it for you.
But
Chapter
no,
16,
I'm just saying it's like in these conversations, I don't look, and I'm trying to be respectful. I don't think it's productive to say like three sentences in Arabic and then translate it. Just go ahead and just speak in the English because I don't understand the Arabic, and I'll take
okay,
your
but
word that you're conveying what Islam believes according to your perception.
look, you can't dictate to me how I'm gonna speak. First of all, second of all,
So I
we are used to, akhi, brother, we are used to speaking this way. We always recite the Arabic if we know it. Okay, so chapter 16, verse 44, we send them with clear proofs and divine books, and we have sent down to you, O Prophet, the reminder, so that you may explain it to the people sorry, that you may explain to the people what has been revealed for them. Okay, I can give you many other verses to
So I
support
so
the.
I will take what you're saying at face value, that it's something that you can't help yourself with. It's just something that you're used to doing, and that's fine. Um, but even that verse, when you're saying it's clear, and he's saying books, and that he's also referring to the gospel, and the Torah, which you would also say, you would argue that they are either corrupt in the way that they're presented, or they're corrupted in meaning. But yet, then the next thing I would ask you is, where are those uncorrupted books today, so that I can compare them to get that
What does
message?
that have to do? What does that have to do with hadith? We went
Because we're
from.
asking where you get your rationality, and so technically people would reject. They would say, I reject your Bible based on rational means. I reject the Torah, the Injil, as you
What do
have
you mean
them
when you say
based on
rational?
my rationality.
When
But
you
if
say
you go into
rationality, what do you mean?
critical thinking,
Critical thinking, and what's your criteria for critical thinking?
basic laws of logic, like looking at something as
Okay,
being something can't be X and not X. So if I'm
okay,
presented
so
a
okay,
book and it
classical
says it's
logic.
from
Okay,
God, but there's something within that that conflicts with logic, then I can reasonably conclude that it's not from God, because God is not an illogical being.
okay. What kind of logic are you referring to?
In this case, we can just use just the general basic laws of logic. Excluded middle. Are you familiar with when I say that? Before I like run through like this, do you know what we mean when we talk about like philosophy, logic, and all these things?
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah.
Okay. So do you
So
use those things in companion with the Quran and the Hadith, or do you reject those things and only use the Quran and Hadith?
both, because
Both.
look, what
There
I
we go.
said
That's
before
all.
is
That's all we've been trying to say.
sound reasoning goes in line with uh, our revelation. Okay.
Hold on. Wait. I want to make sure we're not muddying the waters. Let's say that you found a Hadith. They said it's authentic. It's Sahih. It's got multiple chains. It's good. And the Prophet Muhammad said, and Allah created a squared circle. Would you believe the statement Allah created a squared circle, or would you take your reasoning that a squared circle can't exist?
In that case, I would take my reasoning because it depends on the example you are giving me. Okay, but Allah wouldn't say something like that.
So perfect. So then you are actually using your reasoning to interpret the text. You're not using the text to
No, no,
interpret
no,
your
no,
reasoning.
no, no. That's not the ruling. What I
So then how are
told
you
you is,
using your text to
I'm
interpret?
not gonna. Okay, okay. We use Quran to explain Quran. There are two types of
That's circular.
ayat. Huh?
That's circular. You're using the
That's
Quran to
not
explain the
circular.
Quran.
What I mean by that is, let's say, okay, we have a statement of, let's say, there's a ruling on how to pray. Okay, what we do is we collect all the evidences, all the verses that are in the Quran and in Hadith on this matter. Okay, and that's how we understand it.
Yeah, but then you're not using the Quran to interpret the Quran. You're actually using the Quran and the
What
Hadith.
is the Quran? What is the Quran?
J- James, can I ask? Can I just point something out real quick and let you guys continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
James, the initial dispute between me and him was that he claimed you can use philosophical arguments as long as you can find a premise for them in the Quran, that there's somehow, some way, at least bare bones minimum exists in the Quran, right? Right?
Yeah,
I brought
that's what
up the
we're pushing
point
back.
of B theory and A theory, right? My claim is there is not.
Explain it to me. What is the A theory and B theory?
When when you exist with time, right? You feel like there's a steady passage of time, right? Like it's one moment and another moment and a third moment, right?
Okay, I exist within time.
Okay, now time is basically something that moves in a arrow. It's like a steady flow, right?
It depends on
It's
your
like it's
theory of time. Is time just a concept or it actually exists?
That's exactly the debate, brother. Whether it really exists or it's just an illusion, right?
No, not an illusion, a concept like mathematics.
No, 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 bro. The debate is literally whether or not time is an illusion. I can give you citations right now by physicists who take the opinion that it is an illusion. And in fact, before science, before Albert Einstein, in ancient Greece as well, there was a school of thought that time was an illusion. I simply asked, what does in the Quran or the Sunnah support for either of those claims? You said you could probably find something like that.
Of
I said
course
you
you can.
could. I'm of the well, until I can see something, I don't. The only thing about time that I found was a hadith that says, "Do not curse time because God says He is time." That's the only hadith I can find. Yasser Qadi made a video about it. That's the only
Yeah,
thing relating to
but
time that I could find in
that's
Islam.
not. Yasser Qazi cannot be used as a source. That's the first thing. Second thing is, uh, I'm not an expert on Islam, and I don't claim to know everything about Islam. Now, when you say, okay, can we find this in Islam? There are many verses about Sa'ah. Okay, now you can go out in your way and go to the classical scholars. Okay, the Salaf basically. How did they understood time? How did they explain time according to Quran and Sunnah? And I'm sure you get your answer.
Yeah, but
You
now
didn't
you're going
understand
to
what
an
the debate about.
additional source
That's
Uh,
who's
not the
going
What
debate.
do you
to.
mean when you say the debate about the debate between who? I don't know.
Hold on. Now I just want to point out there's the other thing I was going to introduce is now you're going to another source. You're going to a source called tafsirs, and the tafsirs are clarifying Islamic positions, interpreting the Hadith and the Quran, and that's used by reasoning. They did that based on reasoning. The science of the
And
Quran is considered
No,
by reason.
the criteria is given actually by Allah Himself.
So you don't believe that any reasoning it's just Allah by itself?
Don't
there's
change the
also an
subject.
ikhtilaf.
No, I'm getting really confused because at one
Jake,
point, my friend, he
You
can
are
I
wanted
bring
to.
Jake
changing
in?
the subject, James.
No, at one point you're wanting to
Jake,
say
can I
like
ask you a
it's
question?
sufficient. You can ask Jake a
Going
question
to
for a second.
tafsir, brother, tafsir. Look, anyone can come up with a tafsir, but
No, I'm
doesn't
saying,
mean that his tafsir is not valid.
but
Is
I'm
valid
saying,
or it's not valid.
what
Look,
I keep hearing you say is you keep flirting. I'll let you ask Jake a question in a second, but I keep seeing you flirt with, um, you don't know, you can only know based on this. Then when I push a bit, you actually need this. I
I
don't
never
really
said you
think
don't
that
know.
you know.
I never made that statement, James.
You said that all the information. First, you argued for the Quran alone. Then I
No, I
pushed
didn't.
back. Then you
That
argued
was your
for the
misunderstanding.
Quran
No,
and the
that was your
Hadith.
misunderstanding.
Then
You can't
then you
put
then you agree that
claims
you
on
need
me.
those. But you're the
No, I
one who
didn't change my position, James.
you
You
did.
misquoted me, you misunderstood me, and I clarified my position. And now you are saying I changed my position when actually it was your misunderstanding.
No, I think you misspoke then, because that's what you were indicating. And then when I pushed back about the Hadith, and if the words of God are in the Hadith, and you said yes, then there's not just the only words of God that you follow are not just in the Quran, which means that the revelation from God in the Hadith is additional revelation to the Quran, and you can't be Quran alone. The Quran's not
You can't,
sufficient for
Lou,
all
you are just
things.
no. That's the way you word, the way you are saying it. I don't agree with that. God, Allah, okay, He sent down to us revelations. Okay, now the revelations meaning Quran and Sunnah. That's what we call revelation. Now, if you want to separate the two, we can say, okay, this is Quran and this is Sunnah. I agree with that, okay, because Quran is the literal word of God. Okay, the Hadiths are inspired, but not the literal word. Okay, now that's my belief. And when I tell you, I don't know, James, if you are aware, when I tell you I'm Athari, or let's say I'm a traditional Muslim, you should understand that I'm not a Qur'ani. I'm not just taking Qur'an and that's it.
No, no. I'm just saying is that
Let me.
when you make statements and you don't necessarily like, and this is why you need reason when you're talking and having arguments. But when you make a
No, you're just
statement
playing semantics.
like whether the Quran is sufficient for all things, and then we spend 20 minutes and we find out that actually the Quran is not sufficient for all things. The
No, we
Quran and
didn't
the
spend
Hadith
20
together.
minutes. No, we didn't. No, 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 no. We
So
didn't spend 20 minutes.
let's ask the
James,
question
James.
now. Is the well? Just let me ask this
James,
question. So
you are being
James.
disingenuous, bro.
no, no, no. I'm just asking the
You know what?
question. This will prove what
We
is your
didn't
view.
spend 20 minutes.
Is
You asked me is Quran sufficient, and I said no. By Quran, I
okay?
meant Quran and Hadith.
So the Quran, and
Let
you're
me.
saying you meant Quran and Hadiths, and you are
I
saying
meant
now
to say
for the
that.
record.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. You're saying for the record now, the Quran and Hadiths are not sufficient.
I never made that claim.
When you
That's what
said
I'm
that you have
asking
to
you.
go to the
Are the Quran
Mufassirun,
and Hadith are the Quran and Hadith sufficient?
Look, my
This is what I'm saying.
religion,
You're
my
not
belief
willing
is
to
based on
land.
this. Let me clarify. Well,
You're not
maybe
wanting
it's
to
my
land. Please, look, I'll tell you, if you can give me a yes or no and answer that question, I'll give you all the time in the world to clarify. Is the Quran and Hadith sufficient on their own, or do you need something else?
why you have to are you gonna have to dictate to me to answer yes or no? I can ask you a question
No,
on basis
I
on
look
yes or no, and you wouldn't
because
be able
here's
to
the
answer.
look. Yes, I can answer yes or no questions. In this particular case, what I would say is no. The Quran and Hadith do not appear to be sufficient. But if you
No,
want to
they
say that
are.
they are, that's fine. That's yours. So are the Quran and Hadith sufficient on their own?
Yes, they are sufficient on their own.
That's it. That's all I was trying to get you to like land. Plant your flag.
Of
So I don't
course.
need to look at any tafsirs or any other
No, no,
Arabic
because no,
writings
no, no, no,
because
no.
the Quran
Be-
and the tafsir, or because the Quran and the Hadith are sufficient by themselves without these other clarifications.
James. Let's just ground the debate what it was. This debate wasn't about whether these were sufficient on their own. These were debate. The debate started, and we can do the replays. I'll screen record and share with everybody. The debate started between you and him when I asked the question, when he stated that as long as a philosophical argument can be grounded in the Quran or has a precedence in the Quran, it is therefore valid to use. I brought up the example of time, and fine, I want to put time aside. That's why I wanted to bring Jake in. And Jake is familiar with these discussions as well more than I am. There is a debate amongst the Ash'aris, Maturidis, and Atharis over causation. Are you familiar with the topic, brother?
uh, can I make a comment before that? You are calling our discussion a debate between me and you.
Discussion
No,
is a
I'm saying
debate.
it's not about
I
you,
use
James.
those
It's not about
synonymous.
you.
He's using
It's
debate
synonymous.
in the
Because
loose
I'm
sense
not
that
debating Muslims.
no, no, no. He's using the term debate loosely. Like anytime you have a conversation with somebody and you present one side and they present another, that's a debate. But he did challenge you first. Was that you said that you couldn't use logic unless you could find it in the Quran, and then you eventually elaborated that to the Hadith, and you said that the Quran and the Hadith
And you are
were
misquoting me
sufficient
again.
by themselves, but yet
Brother,
I can't just
put
go
James
read the
aside.
Quran and the Hadith without
You are
all the other
misquoting me.
clarification
James,
from Muslim
I will
scholars.
swear to you, I will swear to you upon the Quran that that is the line of, that's how the events happened between you and me. I'll swear it upon the Quran.
Well, no, I mean
Okay?
I believe you that that's how it started. Yes, I'm not
No,
disputing that.
I'm just saying to Muslim, because when we swear upon the Quran, that's a serious matter. I swear
Oh,
upon the
oh,
Quran,
oh,
that's
I
the
got
line
you.
of
You're
thinking
saying
that
to
always
him.
happened.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
So that's the first thing. In Islam, there is a debate. In philosophy in general, there's a debate. Even the Christians have it. The Jews have it. Even the Zoroastrians back in Kurdistan have it. And you know about the Zoroastrians. There's a debate over whether or not there's something called secondary causation. And Jake can explain it better. The idea is, let me simplify. Let me give you an example to simplify what this dispute about.
You wanna talk about that topic with me?
I just want to give you an example to go back to this whole debate whether or not you can find these arguments in the Quran. Just to give you an example.
Actually,
Suppose
okay,
you take...
what sect are you following?
Hmm?
What sect are you
In terms
following?
of interreligious matters, I'm closest to the Atheries. But metaphysics, I studied Thomas Aquinas. Religious
Thomas
school,
Aquinas.
Atheries. Metaphysics, Thomas Aquinas.
Ride or die. I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint. Ride or die.